What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you to the Blue Rush Preview. It's your New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. I'm Brandon London. This episode, we have a quick episode for you guys as we have the short week. The Giants are playing the Minnesota Vikings. Big game going in on the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve. So this is going to be our Christmas Eve edition of this podcast. I have two-time Super Bowl champ Lawrence Tynes, former Giants kicker, Paul Schwartz, Giants beat writer. We're in the building today. Guys, first and foremost, Paul, you've been in the locker room. You know what the vibe is like this week. As I cross over, now I can see y'all on the Zoom. I was kind of reading some stuff there. How you doing, fellas, first and foremost?
Good to see you. We're good.
Very good,
All right.
yes.
Paul, I mean, kind of take us in the locker room, man. Like, what should the fans be thinking right now? Because if you've seen on social media, people are ready to jump off the ledge knowing how big of a game this is and the type of team that they're facing. So take us in the locker room. What's the vibe been like?
Seems like a very confident group. You know, that win in Landover against the Commanders, I think was really like, you know, it's like, okay, now we figured out we can do this again. You know, it wasn't great. It wasn't elegant. We can do this. You know, there's not a lot of playoff talk. You know, people don't believe that. You know, a bunch of us were around Saquon Barkley today, and you know, what do you think of the playoffs? The scenario, and he said, "Well, tell me the scenarios." You know, he said, "I'm not really sure. Tell me the scenarios." So, well, you have to win, and then 2 out of the 3 teams have to lose, and we're going through it and through it. And Saquon just looks up and says, "Well, the first thing you said, right? We have to win." Yeah. He said, that's what I'm focused on. That's what we're focused on. We have to win. It's not like you can lose and this can happen. You know, the only way they can clinch a playoff berth this week is if they win and a couple of other things happen. And, you know, I think I really believe that Brian Daboll has instilled that in this team. I've seen other teams that go sideways sometimes. They seem to really be, this is the next game. This is what we have to do. And they know, like Julian Love told me today, we know what comes after this. If we win, we get it, but we don't have to worry about that until we get there. So I think they're very focused on this game. Look, it's a hell of a team they're playing. They have to be focused.
Times, I mean, what would be going through your head, you know, for a game like this? You're the underdog. I mean,
just keep playing. They're a confident bunch right now. I mean, obviously they don't want to get too far in front of themselves, but they're playing good football. The D-line is really clicking. We talked about that being a key last week, is something that we haven't seen. I mean, I don't know the snap count, but those 4 guys have not played a lot of football together. But holy cow, when they do, that is a different football team, and it helps some of those secondary guys, right? Adore's still out. Xavier's still out. We can talk about injuries in a second. But I just think they're a completely different team when those 4 guys line up and play the whole game. It looks different. It feels different. There's more pressure. There's more excitement. It was a great vibe on Sunday. You know, the offense held things together, but certainly a confident group. I think you're getting a confident Giants team going up to Minneapolis, you know, to play on Saturday.
And guys, you know what? I mean, in the locker room, Lawrence, that's a great point, because this was the first time all season where I felt, you know, you knew when you were on your great Giants teams, you know, you weren't always great at this or great at that, but that defensive line, I could feel it in the locker room, the guys talking about it. You know, and Wink Martindale was talking about it, you know, that the 2 edge guys are 22 and we're great push. Kayvon Thibodeau, you know, he won NFC Defensive Player of the Week award. The last Giants rookie to do that, Devon Kennard, 2014. Oh, wow. Okay. It doesn't happen very often. And Thibodeau, who was really good in the locker room on Wednesday, not full of himself, thoughtful. And we were asking him about the defensive line. He said, it's kind of like the dream team. You know, I just thought that's a pretty good quote. Kind of like the dream team. You know, he doesn't remember the Jordan, you know, or, you know, Ewing and Barkley, the original dream team. And he said, you know, we were talking to him about Dexter and things like that. And he said, shh, be quiet. You know, I don't want, you know, all this recognition from me. He says, I don't want them chipping me and doing that. Let them big Dexter and deal with that. Let me just be quiet and go about my business. But it was the first time I kind of felt this team feels they have a weapon now. You know, it's the only weapon they really have. You know, they have Saquon as a weapon, you know, which comes and goes, but they feel this defensive line, which has not been together, they feel that's a weapon. And Lawrence, you guys definitely felt that, right? That, you know, we have a hammer, you know, we can put this hammer down. And I think this team feels like they have a hammer now up there.
Yeah, and when you're judging the defensive line, I feel like it's one thing for them to be able to sack the quarterback, first and foremost, get pressure on the quarterback, stop the run. And then there's another tier in terms of how strong your defensive line is when they can actually get there, get home, and sack the quarterback. Then you step it up a notch when you're talking about really being the strength of a team and being a strength in terms of overall in the league is when you can score points on defense and your defensive line is setting up points for your offense in some sort of way. So you think of a game like that Kayvon had, with the entire defensive line had, just to give them all the praise, the props. But you think about that, they score points. The Giants don't win that game if they don't score those points, or at least put them in the position on that side of the field for them to be that close to the end zone, for them to go in and score and get points out of that. So when you talk about like a game like this, that's why, like, people, I don't know, some of Minnesota Viking fans are like, no, we're not taking this as a trap game, because they think they're automatically supposed to win this game. They're saying, but they're still not going to take this as a trap game and take it lightly, because when the Giants are playing like that and the strength, which is their defense, is playing a great game, then that keeps them in the game. And it's like, it's a nail biter in that sense. Anything can happen. The Giants can win in the anything can happen type football at times, in my opinion.
Yeah, they absolutely can. And that Minnesota Vikings defense is not very good. So you would expect the offense to get going a little bit. They've got some good veteran players over there, but nobody that you're probably going to have to game plan around. Maybe Danielle Hunter?
Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter.
Yeah.
Great pass rusher. They've got Patrick Peterson. They've got Hunter Smith. What's his name?
Harrison Smith.
Yeah.
I got him off on the names today. But they've got some good pieces, but nothing that scares you. And I think, they can go in there and run the football, keep doing what they've been doing. Don't turn the ball over and let that defense work. I mean, the comeback last week, I watched the film. What a horrendous effort by the Colts in the second half. I've never seen anything so poor in my life. I almost said, I tweeted, I think that's worse than the way the Patriots lost. I really do. Being up 33-0. I remember when we played, Brandon, I felt like a 14-point cushion was typically good enough to win in the second. In today's game, man, it seems like you better keep scoring, because teams are never out of it. We've seen it in the last couple of weeks of the season, but the Giants have a confidence about them that I kind of noticed. Obviously, when you win big games, you gain confidence, and they should feel really good about going into Minneapolis. That team is going to be gassed, right? They played a really long game, 80, 90 plays apiece, but just the emotional toll. And I think you could sneak up on the Vikings. I really do. I really think they could. I think 2 of their 3 losses are to NFC East teams. So,
yeah,
Paul, you look like you want to jump in.
Yeah, how about Kirk Cousins throwing for 417 yards and 4 touchdowns after halftime?
Yeah,
I mean, after halftime.
I got some notes.
Yeah,
I wrote some stuff down.
Almost looked like the Colts were being coached by a guy who never had coached before, huh?
Man,
God,
23 first downs in the second half.
Yeah,
that's wild.
23. I think the Giants had less than that in the Washington game. They had that in the second half. I just don't know how that happens in today's game, but it did, and man, was that ugly.
Yeah.
When you think about it, and you think about that beast when it comes to that machine of an offense, that's just moving that's 7-on-7. That's just pitch and catch right there. And you understand, you're going into a Minnesota, the Giants. This is going to be their biggest game to eliminate the big play, eliminate the show. Because Paul, Tynes, have you been in that stadium before?
I have not. No, I played in the old place, the old Metrodome.
Paul, you've been there, and you're going to the game, right? You know how loud it can get in there, and then the skull keeps going, and that's just it. That environment can breed big plays. So I think fundamentally, you're going to have a defensive line that's going to have a heck of a game. But fundamentally, the tackling, like little things, converting on third and shorts, that's the only chance the Giants are going to have. If you see them clicking in that sense, in the sense where Justin Jefferson can have 9 catches but 80-something yards, that means guys are tackling, they're eliminating that big play, because if what he can do in that sense.
I got a sense that this team is excited. Julian Love told me we're going into a loud place. It's Christmas Eve, and he seemed excited by that. You know what I mean? Wink Martindale said he told the team, he gave his presentation to his defense, and he said, Justin Jefferson is one of the 2 best receivers in the league. Okay. So he said he's one of the 2 best receivers in the league, and he's not number 2. You know,
pretty
Wink,
good.
yeah, pretty good. Wink also said Wink is 59, okay, and Kevin O'Connell is 37, I believe, the first-year head coach who also was their play caller. So he said, you know, this is really not fair. You got me. I think what he called me. So I'm an old blue-collar guy, and I'm going up against Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, Wink is, you know, and it's funny. Wink said that at the end of his like kind of press conference with us, and I'm thinking to myself, Wink, you know, you got this great line you're sitting on. You got to say it earlier, you know, to make. But he doesn't care. He just waits for it. He'll say it whenever he wants to say it. He's got a line. He's going to say it.
You want to know why? You can get Wink quotes when you get that dub. You know, remember we hadn't heard a Wink quote since before the Lions game. You know, like even the coaches. You know, when you're losing, you can't have fun within the media and be that type of guy. You know, so. I mean, that's what a W does. That's in especially going into a game like this, creating that environment. Even your coach has his confidence back, his swag back. Injury report. Are they getting any guys? Oh, and one last thing before we move on to that. They also made a culture move as well. That right there was a culture move. What was
Tae
it?
Crowder?
Hashtag what was it? Free me.
Free me.
Yeah.
Free me.
Tae Crowder. Look what happened. And you can look at it like, okay, the player is free. He may be able to get picked up, cleared off waivers for another team. Like you hope, the football player in me hopes that's what happens for him. But at the same time, if you're in that locker room and you just saw that move being made, it's just one of those things where that's my boy. If it's my boy, you know, outside of football, but it's like for what we're trying to build here, for what we're trying to get going and get and accomplish, then that was a culture move that I believe Brian Dable and Joe Shane and them made in that sense.
Well, they had Landon Collins was out of, you know, he's been up and down already, you know, so they either have to activate him to the roster and keep him there, or, you know, they can't do that because there's only 3 moves you can make. So, you know, I think, look, Tae Crowder was Mr. Irrelevant. He, you know, he did some good things. He, I think, led the team in missed tackles. So, that inside linebacker position is in a constant state of flux, but this is more of a mystery with Landon Collins to me. You know, these guys, you know, fans ask me, what happened to Rodarius Williams? He looked so good in Dallas. And then, you know, Landon played in week 7 and 8, and then we don't see him again for 5 weeks. You know, these guys are, you know, I'm not saying everything they do is right, but they are, you know, really ruthless as far as, you can help me this week, you're up. You can't help me this week, you're not up. You know what I mean? And, you know, we'll try McFadden. Okay, now we're souring on him a little bit. Jalen Smith, yes. You know, Landon Collins, I think, is going to play in the base defense as an inside linebacker, not this hybrid stuff. And, you know, you wonder where has it been, you know, but look, that's what these guys, they streamline for each week. It's really interesting. For the most part, it's worked. Look, you'd rather have your guys, right? And you just, but, you know, they don't have them and they're figuring it out. And, you know, you're trying to patchwork things like that. They better get pressure. And Kirk Cousins has been sacked 40 times this year. Okay. I think he was sacked 7 times last week. Daniel Jones has been sacked 41 times. So the best way to stop Justin Jefferson, there is no way to stop Justin Jefferson. The best way to stop him, make Kirk Cousins move around, because, you know, they can put, as Wink Martindale said, he could be double and triple teamed and still make the catch.
Yeah, and you know, Daniel wasn't sacked any on Sunday night, I believe, for the first time in his career. And Kirk Cousins will throw the ball up too. I mean, I know it looks like statistically he's taking care of the ball, but he will put the ball in harm's way, especially with pressure. And he's a very, very good quarterback. I think some people have this, you know, description of him as kind of being, I mean, he's good. He obviously has Thielen. People forget about that guy who was a Pro Bowler, multiple time Pro Bowler, and then this Osborne kid is fast. And
he makes the big catch.
Man, physical, fast. Yeah,
the one that stings. Yeah.
And then we haven't talked about Dalvin Cook, who's one of the top 5 backs in the game, who does it all: receiving, running. You know, they'll be challenged again. They're going to obviously have to try and stop the run. They'll never stop it. I just don't think it's in their DNA. Like you said, Brandon, it is what it is. And just hopefully make some plays in the passing game and not give up a lot of chunk plays to Jefferson, because, you know, he's going to do what he does. And he's on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record. So
he's his first 3 years. I think he has more receptions. What was it? It was, you know, Odell, as great as Odell was in his first 3 years, Jefferson has more receptions, more yards. I mean, you know, his trajectory is crazy. I talked to Cordell Flott a little bit today. in 2019, he was a freshman when Jefferson was a junior his last year. And Jefferson, that was with Joe Burrow. They won the national championship. He had 111 catches in college, 18 touchdowns in college. I mean, insane. And, Flott said, even back then, he said he could do everything. And he said he's anxious to go against him, which might just be a rookie talking.
But, that's what I like about Flott, though. I know if he came in earlier this year and football and you watch him, he looked a little hesitant. He's playing different football right now. So whatever they're doing, this coaching staff, we've seen it. Even McFadden, I think, is playing much, much better. He's being more instinctive. But Flott, I've noticed, and obviously Pinnock, but as a young player, Flott has really – he sticks out to me. I mean, he sticks his nose in there. He's not the biggest guy.
Does he really? Guy. He's
skinny. He's small guy, slight of frame, but I could see his coverage. He's kind of yapping a little bit. I mean, that's that LSU in him. But I was just looking at some numbers, guys. Justin Jefferson. Yeah. He hasn't even finished his third season. 4,639 yards receiving. That's a lot of 24 touchdowns. We still have 4 games left this year. He's going to probably top 5,000 yards in 3 seasons. That's nuts.
Again, gotta make the tackle. That's just and it's easier to say it done. I can say it right here on the podcast or a preview show but it's that dude, man. Remember, he was only a 3-star coming out of high school and that's just one of those things where he wasn't starred correctly. But before we go into really going deeper into the offense, because I want to talk to you guys about Daniel Jones. The reason why he wasn't sacked last game because he didn't throw a attempt to pass over 15 yards. Let's talk about that. But Paul, a guy's healthy, injury report, a guy's coming back. Who's out? What are you thinking right now? What have you heard so far?
The same as last week. Adoree Jackson will not play. I mean, he hasn't officially been ruled out yet. He's just not ready to play yet, unfortunately. Brederson played 40 snaps. He played the whole second half. Saquon ran well. I would expect him to start. I don't know if they'll keep, a Nick Gates, Brederson rotation. I don't know why Brederson wouldn't start. I think he will. Other than that, McKinney's not ready to come back at all. Obviously not yet. We'll see about him. Wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play again this year, but maybe, we'll see. The hand's got to heal. You can't, you got broken bones in there. They took out the pins. It's not like you can do exercises for the hand now. He does some mobility things, but that's just time. And, time is counting down here. So they're in pretty good shape. They did not have injuries out of last week. So this is like the first week. Kayvon with an elbow, he's going to be fine. Leonard Williams should be fine coming out of that game. And he makes a big difference. He really does. I think who was it? Was it Kayvon or was it Wink said something about that? When you have that push inside, the Wink said with Leonard there, Dexter has 2 hands on him. When Leonard's not there, Dexter has 4 hands on him. It's a big difference. Dexter 1-on-1, I like his chances. 2-on-1, that's tough. Like you said, that's a living, breathing force, and we'll see. Kayvon is really handled this success. We'll see. He just said some really smart things. He said it definitely gives me a few stripes, getting this award and things like that. And he said, it only matters what I do from here. He kind of yapped a little bit earlier. He was very impressive. It's very interesting to see a young guy, what he does after he has the success. Does he crow about it? He seemed more motivated to do it again, really. And we'll see. It's fascinating to watch him, right? A 22-year-old kid, fascinating to watch and see what does he do for Encore.
I think that's that Strahan effect. He could be the next Michael Strahan in the digital world. He could be the digital Michael Strahan in that sense. Football, the game has completely changed. Sports entertainment has completely changed since when Strahan had to come up. So if Strahan was able to play well in this market and build with that personality and build the empire that he's built in the VHS world, imagine what he's going to be able to do in the instant world. Paul?
Oh, look. I covered Michael Strahan very early in his career, and I thank God that there was no social media, okay? Because between the videos and look, Strahan was a trip. I knew him before, but all you guys knew him when he was younger, and he was not a great player yet. He was an ascending player. He was a hard dude to deal with. I'm telling you, you didn't know if it was happy Michael or angry Michael when you approached that locker room. He had that little lisp, right? The little lisp.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'd look up out of his locker and I'd kind of be walking nearby and he'd go, Schwartz, don't you come near that locker. Don't you come near my locker, and it's like, okay, it's angry Michael today, it's angry Michael. But
that's funny. Well, I was texting him today to see if he'd come on the show, and he was down in the Bahamas, and I said, we'll catch him next time. Because I said, I'm not going to interrupt your time, in the Bahamas, which for him is a quick private flight from New York, right? It's not like he's hopping on JetBlue.
It's on the PJ.
But I'll tell you what, he's done pretty well in the VHS world, as you call it, whatever that number is per year on the Today Show and TV. But Kayvon Thibodeau is going to obviously create a brand. He instantly kind of became, right? And Daniel Jones, I'm glad people got to see him play somewhat decent on national TV, but everyone left that game thinking about the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. They learned his name. I know they heard his name, but seeing the Giants on national TV win a big game and a guy play that well, you almost got to say that Kayvon Thibodeau has kind of become the face of the franchise, if you will.
Hey guys, did you see? I think Daniel Jones and Saquon got together and for Christmas gifts, and they got everybody I forget the company, Brandon, you might know, like a designer suit or a jacket, shoes, everything, like gift certificates to go get a specially made suit and everything like that.
Okay.
But it's interesting with the quarterback and the running back, the 2 first-round picks, because look, those guys are first-round picks. They're making good money, but neither of those guys have got neither of them have a contract for next year. So, I think their gifts sound very nice, but, it's unusual when the quarterback and the running back
that's just being
together,
cheap.
right?
Just being cheap.
So you know what that means? If I'm Daniel Jones, I'm getting you all those gifts because of the game that I'm about to go and have against Kirk Cousins.
Ooh,
That's my next year. I'll get you next year with this money because of this game. What I do this game is that's the money that's gonna get you your own gifts, because we talked about last game. I'm looking up his numbers right now against the Commanders: 21-32, 160 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, a safe game. They called a safe game for him. No passes attempted past 15 yards.
That's not going to work this week.
D-line where it has 4 first.
That's not working this week, though.
Oh, absolutely not. You're going to have to hit the big play. Yeah. So this is going to have to be big play Daniel Jones. How do you get Tynes? How would you get him going early and often?
You got to run. You got to run the football a little bit. Get them on their toes. Our old friend of the show, Dalvin Tomlinson's on that D-line. Really good player, has been a durable player, good player. Seems like every D tackle we draft signs with the Vikings. It's weird that we just lose them. Linval Joseph. There was someone else in between there. I don't know. Anyway, but you got to run the football. You got to get that run game going. And don't wait till the fourth quarter, late in the game, third, fourth quarter, like we did against Washington. Establish it early and let Daniel work a little bit, because I still think these receivers can get open. I think the tight end has to become more involved. Bellinger, is still coming back. Maybe his ribs were still sore last week. But you got to get the run game going. That'll open up everything. It could be a shootout. I mean, it really could turn into a shootout type of game. I don't know if we're capable of putting up 30 points, but I sure would like to see it on Christmas Eve.
Saquon, he's had obviously monster runs and plays. We've seen him. But I thought, and I asked him about this, those 3 straight runs, right, in the fourth quarter last week at FedEx Field. What do you have, like 14, 12, and 15? Or bang, bang, bang.
That was spinners.
The best sequence I've seen. Look, an 80-yard run is great, but the way they just literally, okay, we just stopped them. We have to, establish something. They were pushed back, and he just took them to midfield. I asked him about that, and he liked it too. He said, as they would say, he said, you get in your bag. He had this devil. He said, you get in your bag. That means you get in your zone. You start feeling good. He said, obviously, ripping off the first one, you get the second one, third one. And he said, I just want to figure out how I can get 4, 5, 6. And he said, that's what I've got to get to down the stretch. So I think he's physically feeling good. I really do. Maybe that lit something with Brederson in there. Maybe they saw something.
He makes a difference. He absolutely makes. Brederson, Gates is not a guard. God bless him. He's a great story. He's a center at best, maybe an athletic type of Kelsey. We talked about this on the postgame show with the Talking Giants guys. Brederson he's a guard, and he moves people, and he played well. And there's no coincidence that all those runs were basically over that side.
And that goes to show how important it is for them to get that offensive line correct, that lineup, that rotation correct. Because when you talk about, that's how you get that 4th, 5th, 6th run in a row for Saquon, if you have some sort of stability in that offensive line. And again, it's not like they're going to be line movers. We're not asking for that offensive line to be that. We have on the edge, we have two pretty good guys on the edge. Just that interior pressure, one, not allowing them to get in the face of a Daniel Jones, two, not getting pushed back. So Saquon can't get that hole and hit that hole early. Last but not least, just the final thoughts, guys. Final thoughts going into this game. You have to deliver the speech to the team. 30 seconds. Go ahead. Say what you got to say. Get it off your chest.
Giants have not had a lot of success against Vikings teams. I don't care what year it is, what team it is. They just haven't. I don't know that I ever beat them in my career, to be honest. I can't think of a game where we beat them. But they're playing with a lot of confidence. Go in there and obviously play well. I think the Giants can win this game. I really do. I think they possess kind of the offense and the defense to kind of disrupt them enough. I am going to pick the Giants just because I think they're on a hot streak. I think the Vikings kind of spent a lot of energy and mental effort last week coming back, and they might be overlooking the Giants a little bit, I think. So I don't have a score. I just think the Giants will somehow find a way to win.
The Vikings don't have, they're not going to catch the Eagles, right? They've clinched the division. So, right, this is not, look, every game's important. The next game we get all that, but there's not a lot out there for the Vikings, right? Look, if I was talking to the Giants team, the first thing I'm thinking of is, look, this is not a must win. Last week was a must win. We can go beat the Colts next week and still make the playoffs. But I sense that would probably be not the right thing to say to my team. Yeah. Gentlemen, it doesn't matter if we win this week. Obviously, that's not true. They want to start building something here. Look, I can't get it out of my head. They scored 13 points last week. They scored 13 points. Right? I mean, they did not turn the ball over, and they scored 13 points. It's not and the first game against the Commanders, the time of possession was completely lopsided, right? Like 41-29 or something like that. This was even, so they controlled the ball enough. They were 2 for 10 on third down. So, Lawrence, you keep saying, you think the receivers can get open and things like that. I mean, I think they can get open, but marginally, you know what I mean? Now, What do we say? They need chunk plays. So last week, their one touchdown drive on offense is 18 plays, 97 yards, just, 8.5 minutes. That is not sustainable. It was sustainable last week for one drive. So until they show me they can pow, 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 they can come out and score, it's not enough. It's not enough. So, the Vikings, I think, can score 28 in their sleep. You know what I mean? That's just the kind of team they are. They score a lot of points, and at home they will score a lot of points, and it's going to be festive. You're going to have a lot of Santa Clauses in the stands. That skull chant they do, they have the Viking ship. It's a loud building. I think the Superdome is probably louder as far, when I think of domes, I think this is definitely louder than Detroit. It's louder than Texas, the Texans. Louder than Seattle indoors versus outdoors. I don't know about that, but it is a loud building. It can be an intimidating building. I don't think it's a letdown game for the Giants, certainly, but, I'm not feeling it. There are other battles that they can win and still get in the playoffs.
And because of that atmosphere that you just mentioned or you just described, Paul, I'd tell my team, it just goes down. The only way you can combat that atmosphere is through tackling and catching. If you talk about the chunk play, eliminate the chunk, create the chunk. If you tackle well and you don't eliminate run after contact or run after catch, then you eliminate that crowd in the sense of that big play. If on our end they catch that ball, whether it be a third and something as simple as a 3rd and 3 to the flats to Richie James, that ball gets completed. That quiets a crowd because now you don't have to punt. That's just, and I get how powerful that offense is for the Vikings. But at the end of the day, if you can just rally, make tackles, that eliminates a lot of that. It's going to happen, but you want to come out on the right side more than the wrong side when it comes to that. All right, Jake, let's go to you.
You didn't give us your pick, BL.
What episode, fellas? What an episode.
BL, what's your pick? You didn't give us your pick.
I mean, I'm going to go. Oh, man. I went for the Packers that game. I'm going to go Giants, man. I'll go Giants. Let's go 28-25, man. Comes down to Graham Gano field goal. And don't have to worry about the elements. You're indoor.
I'm going to take the Vikings 27-20. I just think those defensive Giants injuries are just too much to overcome. Remember, the Vikings are playing for home field. It's a big game for them, trying to fight out for home field. And if they could have home field in that stadium, I mean, the chances are slim. But remember, the Eagles will be without Jalen Hurts maybe for the remainder of the season. So maybe there's a shot that they could get that top seed and maybe a bye if they get lucky here. Closing out the show, I'll be Tony Reality. Two things that I actually loved about the show is Paul talking about in his bag, making an in his bag reference.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. And also you said top two and not two is actually a Drake line. I think Justin Jefferson said he's not top two. He's number one. That's actually a line that he was kind of referring to Drake a little bit. That became popular.
I'm not sure Wink Martindale's referring to Drake. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he is.
You never know.
He knew about Harry Styles.
He played Harry Styles today too.
Yeah. Look, when you're around 25-year-olds, I guess you me with my kids, they make me younger. So yeah, maybe Wink is Wink
Paul, I noticed on social media today that the Denver Broncos gave all of the media a coffee kit. That seems very nice. Did the Giants do anything for you guys? Like a gift, a holiday gift?
No, the Giants have not given us holiday gifts. No, they have not. You know what? In the past,
unfortunate.
You know what? Years before I was on the beat, listen to this, guys. Before I was on the beat, this is like in the 70s, I guess, or 80s. They used to give the beat writers TVs.
Wow.
Like TV. I mean, I could first.
We need to bring that back.
First of all, I couldn't accept that. No. And the Knicks, Jake, you're a big Knick guy. The Knicks are so horrible with the media then. When I was covering the Knicks when they were great with Ewing and Jackson and all those cats, they used to ask you in advance, you have a wife, you have kids, you'd write down sizes and they would give you like all this in blazing Knick sweatsuits and you have one for your little kid and your little daughter and your wife and and I'm like, this is great, but I can't walk around with a beautiful Knick sweatsuit, which my name's stitched in here. I mean, I'm covering the team for God's sake.
Right.
Go to the grocery store. Do it. You can wear it to the grocery store.
I can't wear it to the grocery store. And I'm not a member of the team, but it was very nice of them. That's when the Knicks love the media as opposed to now where they despise the media. It's a little
all walking in a Rite Aid in a jumpsuit, in a Knicks jumpsuit with his name on it. I'd sign me up. I'd be the guy in the corner. That's Paul Schwartz. Let me get a picture.
Yeah, well, that's when I get in my bag. Yeah.
Get in my bag.
Add that to the soundboard. He is
top
a dog
and he's not
in
two.
his bag. And the by the way, the clothing you were talking about that Jones and Barkley gifted was from the Gentleman's Playbook. Is what the clothing
follow them
was,
on Instagram.
Been to the Gentleman's Club, but never to the Gentleman's Playbook.
Let's make sure your wife doesn't know about that one, Lawrence. Back in the day,
She's an avid listener. She'll probably hear it.
Yeah, she'll be asking about that.